right. Yesterday, we talked at length about the Aaron Rodgers Jimmy Kimmel feud because it got pretty heated when Jimmy Kimmel he spent the vast majority of his monologue the other night ripping Aaron Rodgers to shreds and ripping Aaron Rodgers for reasons that are so elitist that it's just sickening. And because they don't agree on everything politically, he tried to somehow connect Aaron Rodgers to conservatives, to the MAGA movement, MAGA, you say tomato, I say tomato, to then ultimately Donald Trump. Well, it was just a matter of hours before Aaron Rodgers went back on the Pat McAfee show, where the nadir of this whole argument took place months ago. Um, you know, Jimmy Kimmel was one of those guys on late night TV. I think pretty much all of them did it. Certainly Stephen Colbert did it with his vaccine dance, and Jimmy Fallon did it. They all towed the line about everything we were told to do during the pandemic, and Aaron Rodgers did not toe that line. And he did misrepresent whether or not he had been vaccinated. But you know what? In retrospect, some can now understand why. So that's where this all started. Then it turned into the Jeffrey Epstein documents and a little insinuation that someone who might be nervous about the list, the visitors list coming out, would be Jimmy Kimmel. Well, Jimmy Kimmel went off, claimed he was basically being called a pedophile, which Aaron Rodgers never used that word. But I thought Aaron handled this well yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. I thought Aaron went back at him in a very reasoned, he didn't cave in, and he didn't really lash out. He did a little at Kimmel, and quite frankly, Kimmel deserved it. So he basically says Kimmel took his comments out of context, which I agree with. Let's go to SOT 1, where Aaron contends that Jimmy Kimmel really took him too literally. Let's roll this.
A lot of people, and I'm quoting myself here, a lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't come out. End quote. That's what I said. That's the entire quote. I'm not stupid enough, even though you think I'm an idiot, and you made a lot of comments about my intelligence, but I'm not stupid enough to accuse you of that with absolutely zero evidence.
All right. That's fair enough by my book. Fair enough. I'm not stupid enough to use that P word. And here's one of the things that Kimmel also said in his monologue that I think it just made me shake my head. Because Aaron Rodgers made these comments about him, he said, my wife gets asked about it, my kids get asked about it, the mailman gets asked about it. Kimmel, you're a late night talk show host. You are fair game in this world for jokes, for rumors, for gossip. That is what you sign up for when you become a star in Hollywood. Now, I understand, as Aaron just said, and he understands, that this idea that he might have been on Epstein Island, this idea that he might be a pedophile, that's next level. And I get it. But Aaron's right. He never used those two terms. He never used the P word, as we're calling it now. He didn't use that. And then Kimmel got all, personal about his education and so forth. And as far as we can tell, Kimmel did attend ASU, did attend UNLV, but didn't finish his degree until much later. I think 2013 went back to UNLV for to finish up his college degree. So he's making fun of Aaron for not having graduated, for having gone to community college for 2 years. Oh my gosh. Oh, how awful. This elitism, these echelons. You went to community college, therefore you're not smart. I know a lot of really smart, wise people who never went to college. Sometimes I wish I hadn't wasted 4 years going to college. Sometimes, although there was a lot of good in there. But this notion that you either have a college education or you don't, and at what level or what institution you've gotten it from is that was just stupid. But as Aaron Rodgers said, Jimmy Kimmel's a comedian. It's part of his job. He can say and do those things. That's fine. So now here's where Aaron got a little more interesting and in depth. He goes on to talk about the fact that Kimmel helped platform some misinformation during the pandemic. Now, let's caveat this. Let's say we're in the middle of the pandemic. We can all kind of think back to how scary it was, how much we wanted guidance, how much we needed to, people wanted to follow the science, but people got religious about that too. People got religious about the science and sort of like you were either in one camp or another, and there was no in between. That is so much of the problem. And I think that's what Aaron points out here is that you either think in this one silo or you're stupid, ignorant, and the rest. And in fact, some of the stuff that was presented from this silo of experts and so forth didn't quite pan out. So here's Aaron going on about Jimmy Kimmel and maybe the way he presented some of the things during the pandemic. Let's roll it.
In my opinion, you went after me. That's fine. You're a comedian. Go for it. Not offended, but that was an L.
And when you play in the National Football League or you play any professional sport or you're competitive at all, it's about wins and losses, W's and L's. And so Rodgers calls that an L for Jimmy Kimmel. Anyway, it all sort of seemed to wind down yesterday on the Pat McAfee show with Aaron concluding this way. Did he use the word "I'm sorry" or apologize? No. And I don't think he owed anyone an apology. Aaron Rodgers is allowed to speak his mind. When we start apologizing for everything, we take a step back and then we take another step back. And the next thing we know, we're just kowtowing to everyone. And there's no more courage of conviction. Because what Jimmy Kimmel's ilk does is calls you names, tries to make you look stupid and unintelligent until you sort of go, oh, and you wither. And then you go, I'm sorry, Jimmy, I shouldn't have said that. You were right. I was wrong. I've been wrong about everything. Forgive me. And then you just look like a weak, spineless idiot. And you can never really, it's very difficult to come back from that. So let's come full circle here because Riley Gaines is one of those people who will not do that. And neither will Aaron Rodgers. It takes courage to be able to sit in front of an audience, in front of Congress, in front of whomever, the press, and say what you believe when it doesn't go against what's in vogue. And by that, I mean like what's woke. If you don't agree with that and you don't toe the line, it takes courage to say it out loud. And a lot of people don't have that courage to say it out loud. Those two do.